What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of Blue Chips, a show that goes deep into team building, player evaluations, a show where college football, the NFL, Dynasty gamers, and Devy managers all come together. I am your host, Matty Kiwoom, and today we will be diving into my NFL Mock 3.0. That's right. It took your boy less than a minute to go out and throw up my shameless plug of the day. NFL Mock 3.0 is over at PlayerProfiler.com. Go check it out. 3 rounds, 100 picks, and over 15 trades. Today, we're going to go through just the first round, and we will go through each team, quickly going over the defensive players, but also talking about why they may go defense over a position player that we care about in fantasy. Kind of just getting everyone ready to go for their rookie drafts, preparing in a way that simply others are not. So without further ado, Blue Chippers, let's get to work. Here we go. Let's start with the 101. The Chicago Bears stay put and select Caleb Williams. Feels like this is becoming the most obvious path so far in the first round, that they're just going to go ahead, draft Caleb Williams, and then deal with the Justin Fields market later. Caleb Williams going to the Bears sets him up to be the 101 in your Superflex rookie mocks. The situation seems pretty good. There's an offensive coordinator coming in from Seattle that, got a lot out of Geno Smith, even Drew Lock at times. I think he will be able to tap into Caleb Williams, who has immense talent. They're building a full team around him, which is good, bringing in DeAndre Swift. They have, of course, DJ Moore, and they may be bringing in another offensive weapon here in my NFL mock 3.0. But Caleb Williams going to the Bears, get ready, prepare for it. It is inevitable, and I think as fantasy gamers, we should be excited. At the 102, which is becoming more and more popular, Jayden Daniels going to the Washington Commanders. Cliff Kingsbury clearly wants to build an offense around a mobile quarterback. The problem with predicting which one is, I think Jayden Daniels and Drake May are both mobile. The team kind of told us that this is the direction that they wanted their offense to go in when they signed veteran Marcus Mariota. You typically want a backup quarterback that can handle, at least schematically, what the offense is asking of its quarterback. And that tells me that they want someone a little bit more mobile, someone that can attack with their feet, keep plays going, and score points with their legs. So that could be Drake May or Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels coming off his Heisman Trophy year. I think that in this situation with, Jahan Dotson and Austin Eckler now, of course, Scary Terry, Zach Ertz, they got a bunch of picks. I think this is a pretty good situation for a quarterback. And the more that I see it, I think that this path to a quarterback here, whether it be Drake May or Jayden Daniels, should be the 102 in Superflex. So I think that we can all now start preparing for our rookie drafts to have 2 quarterbacks being selected, 102 in the 101 and 102 in the NFL draft, which we will have to prepare accordingly in our rookie drafts. At the 103, the first big trade of the mock, the Minnesota Vikings come all the way up from 11 with the New England Patriots to select Drake May. Kirk Cousins is now in Atlanta. The Patriots, there was a report just the other day saying that they may focus on receiver. They could do that at 11 potentially. Elliott Wolf, the team builder, wants to, quote, stockpile draft picks. This is a way to get it going. And now the Minnesota Vikings, who desperately need a quarterback to keep in stride with the other pretty good teams in the NFC North. I mean, the Lions are ready to win. The Packers are obviously built to win. And now the Bears get the 101, get Caleb Williams, and seemingly should be ready to compete. So the Vikings are going to need a quarterback if they want to keep their competitive juices flowing. They move up and get Drake May. They also just brought in Josh McCown, who coached Drake May in high school. So the connections are building. Now, do we love this for fantasy? Yes, I do. I do like Drake May throwing the football to Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson. I mean, it's fantastic to think about. Is he the 103 in my Superflex leagues? I don't think it is. I don't think he is. I don't think he's the 103. I think I am now inserting the wide receivers into this spot. But man, it's a lot better for a quarterback to go to the Vikings than it would be to the New England Patriots, who didn't bring in much when it comes to offensive talent. If you have free agency or trades or what have you so far in this offseason. So, we see 3 quarterbacks off the board, 1, 2, 3, Williams, Daniels, and May. They all could easily be in that top tier of talent. So if you have a pick through 107, 108 in Superflex, I would highly value that pick. I would be very reluctant to move on from that unless we're talking franchise-altering youth, but also established, like we're talking unicorn players. If you're going to move that 102, 101, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, potentially 108. At the 104, the Arizona Cardinals select Marvin Harrison Jr. So 4 picks into this mock, 4 fantasy relevant guys. And so far, the landing spots we like for Dynasty. We like it for our team building purposes. And, Marvin Harrison going to the Cardinals again is a great landing spot. And I think as fantasy gamers, we should start preparing for something similar to this to roll out. I'm not saying that every pick that I make here in my NFL Mock 3.0 is going to be nails, going to be accurate. But the thought process it was put behind it was looking at past drafted players by these team builders and coaches, scheme fits, rumor mill stuff, things I heard at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. So I'm trying to paint a picture for us Dynasty gamers where we can have information that our league mates simply don't, and we can make educated decisions based on the information at hand, and we can be prepping for teams like the Cardinals to get get a receiver, or a team like the Bears to get a quarterback. The obvious things we can start preparing. And Marvin Harrison being the wide receiver 1 for Kyler Murray it's nice. It's nice. We like that. We absolutely love that fantasy. We could get a guy that could see upwards of 120 targets, and with his skill set and size, it's absolutely a dream scenario. Now, here we go. 105, keeping the fantasy relevant train a-rolling. Rome Odunze being drafted at the 105, not by the Los Angeles Chargers, but by the Chicago Bears. The NFL is a copycat league, and I think a lot of teams are now looking at what the Houston Texans did with their superstar double tap last year, going Stroud, Will Anderson. Teams realize the importance of going up and getting 2 stud players when you are on the verge of being competitive. The Bears are there, man. The Bears need to be competitive. Eberflus needs to be competitive. Ryan Poles needs to win. They go ahead and make the move up to 5 and take Rome Odunze. So now Chicago's offense looks a little something like this. They have Caleb Williams at quarterback, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Tyler Scott at wide receiver, Cole Kmet at tight end. And then, of course, now you have a pretty deep running back room with DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, and Khalil Herbert. So for us fantasy gamers, this Bears stacks, these Bears pieces are valuable, even more so than we ever thought, given the fact that now they have Caleb Williams, who is the quarterback 1 in the class, and Rome Odunze, who I actually have as my wide receiver 1 in the class after watching him at the Combine and how he can perform at the next level. So far, 5 picks in, 5 picks that we love as fantasy gamers. And if I had to, actually, let me keep going because there's 2 more fantasy relevant guys. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of go through where I'll have these guys in terms of your rookie drafts. So at the 106, the New York Giants stay put and select J.J. McCarthy. The term buyer's remorse has been circulating everywhere in terms of in describing the contract they gave to Daniel Jones. Hell-bent on a rookie quarterback is a quote that I heard in Indianapolis. So McCarthy falling there to 6 ends up being a bit of, I don't know if it's plan A. I think one of the top 3 guys would be the plan A, but a plan 2, a plan B, a plan 1B. It's a good plan. It'd be a good outcome for the New York Giants to get J.J. McCarthy. Do we love him in fantasy football? I think a lot of people the market is wishy-washy on McCarthy. But going to the Giants with Brian Daboll, positive. Throwing to the weapons, Negative. Being able to potentially kind of slow play his development because they do have Daniel Jones on the hook for a lot of money. Positive. So I think here this makes this. I think McCarthy going to the Giants makes the rookie round one a big 8. I think I said pick 107. I think you can extend that to pick 108. All throughout 101 to 108 are going to be very valuable for fantasy football. And here is why. My next pick at the 107, the Tennessee Titans select Malik Neighbors. Now, that might be out of the window. They just signed Calvin Ridley to a massive deal. D-Hop ain't going anywhere. So the likelihood that they take Neighbors here at the 107 is probably unlikely. I could now see them pivoting, going with a Joe Alt. But Malik Neighbors is still a lock for the top 12 of the NFL draft wherever he lands, and is going to be cemented as the 105 for me in my Superflex mocks. Now, we've gone through 7 of them. There's an 8th, and it's Brock Bowers. We'll get to his landing spot soon enough, and we'll talk about him and his pro day when we get to his pick. But let's just go through real quick for all the blue chippers listening how this mock draft would tell me, or what this mock draft would tell me in terms of trying to mock the rookie pick. So let's use a mock to make a mock. Let's double mock. Let's inception mock here. 101 in this situation, Caleb Williams. 102, Jayden Daniels. 103, I'm going with Marvin Harrison. 104, Rome Odunze. 105, Malik Neighbors. 106, give me Drake May. 107, Brock Bowers. 108, JJ McCarthy. So all of these picks here, very big for fantasy purposes, game changers. So again, picks 101 to 108, love it. For us fantasy gamers. Now, these next 2 picks I'll kind of go through quickly. The Atlanta Falcons take Dallas Turner. The Atlanta Falcons have been loading up on offense. They just signed Kirk Cousins. They signed Darnell Mooney. They just traded for Rondell Moore. So it makes sense that they go defensive player here. They could trade back if they want to, put together a bunch of assets. But either way, getting an edge rusher, getting someone that can get after the quarterback is paramount for them in this draft. They had such a bad pass rushing unit, so they get Dallas Turner here at 8. And at 109, the Los Angeles Chargers take Jared Verse, big man, defensive end, edge rusher from Florida State. He can get after the quarterback as good as anyone in the class. So Jim Harbaugh, who's going to come in and put together a culture of dominance on both sides of the football, being tough all over the place, goes and gets his big edge rusher from Florida State. At the 110, the New York Football Jets select Joe Alt. They're going to go offensive line here. I just cannot see that they don't. I think that is good for your Russell Wilson shares if you have Aaron Rodgers in terms of your QB3 or your contending QB2. I think keeping the quarterback upright is pretty important. So we like that for all of the weapons in New York. So that rounds up the top 10. We're going to get into the next set here, the 11 through the rest of the draft. But before we do, let's hear from one of our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by PlayerProfiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help to strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. So I think it's a great deal.
Matty Kiwoom here, new episode of Blue Chips. We're going through my NFL Mock 3.0, just the first round. If you want to get all 3 rounds, 100 picks, 15 plus trades, head over to playerprofiler.com and check it out. At the 111, the Patriots traded back and take Olu Fashanu from Penn State Great pick for NFL, for fantasy, whatever. This is just kind of a pit when it comes to fantasy production now and probably the near future. Let's call a spade a spade. 112, Denver Broncos select Byron Murphy, defensive lineman from Texas. Great football pick. Don't really need it for fantasy. And the Las Vegas Raiders at 13 select Quinyon Mitchell, Mike CB1 from Toledo. Again, not really a fantasy relevant pick at cornerback. But the next one is the 114, the 14th pick in the first round. The Cincinnati Bengals decide to trade up with the New Orleans Saints to make sure that they can lock in Brock Bowers. Mr. Brock Bowers from Georgia, elite prospect from Georgia, tight end extraordinaire from Georgia, absolute monster. Someone that the Georgia Bulldogs game plan their entire offense around ever since he was an 18-year-old freshman. He has that type of impact on a football field. And the Bengals move up because there's been a strong connection with Bowers to the Indianapolis Colts. Also, now we're getting a strong inclination that the Pittsburgh Steelers are very much interested in Brock Bowers. They attended his pro day, a pro day in which he didn't even participate in because he was dealing with a slight hamstring injury, but he says he'll be ready to work out privately for teams in April. So there's nothing to worry about for the NFL draft, nothing to worry about for our rookie drafts. Brock Bowers is safely in that top tier that I mentioned earlier, those 8 players that should be valued at the utmost. Is that how you say it? You should value them very much so. That doesn't sound good either. I don't know. Right in the comment of the show. How do you say that? The most powerful? Tell me how to speak English over in the comments. Help me speak a little bit better in English for my next episode, please. But Brock Bowers to the Bengals. Geez Louise, do we love it? I mean, that is the dream landing spot, both for them and for us, right? Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, maybe. No Joe Mixon, so more targets than you can potentially even imagine will be available in that offense. And Brock Bowers will slide in as this over the middle kind of just Swiss Army knife tight end weapon that the NFL loves to call. The NFL loves using these terms now, weapons. I just want a weapon at a position. The position doesn't matter as much as it is the player, the weapon that I can use in offense. And there's no doubt about Brock Bowers as a weapon and would be on the Bengals and would be a locked-in top 8 pick in our Superflex rookie mocks. As high as, man, you could take him as high as the 104, even the 103, probably the 104 in 1 QB. I think I'm pretty firmly at the 104 for me in my 1 QB leagues. Pick 115, the Indianapolis Colts take Terrion Arnold with Quinyon Mitchell off the board. They just get the next best cornerback on their board. Rumor mill connects these two very, very strongly. So Terrion Arnold to the Colts makes a whole lot of sense. The Seattle Seahawks are very excited. Talisa Fuaga, tackle from Oregon State, is available. I've kind of soured on the Michael Penix to the Seahawks train that I was kind of conducting earlier in this offseason. Now I think they pivot to offensive line. They need some help there, and getting Fuaga would be massive for your Kenneth Walker shares, for your DK Metcalf shares. The question, though, becomes, what are we going to do Tyler Lockett versus JSN? You're going to have to tune in to Player Profiler. All of our shows, we'll be covering topics like that throughout the entire summer, getting you ready for next year's draft. That's just what we do. We get the best Dynasty content on planet Earth. 117, the Jacksonville Jaguars take Nate Wiggins, cornerback from Clemson, very fast, and now with no Darius Williams, they need him. The Saints moved back and take Chop Robinson, an edge rusher. That's something that they desperately need. Chop Robinson was a beast at the combine, was proved to be very athletic, which we already knew. He's got one of the quickest first steps. He's going to be a monster over in NOLA. 119, the Rams take Cooper DeJean. Now, they are a team that I might be interested to see if they go quarterback here in round 1. If McCarthy slips, if Nix is their next best quarterback, Penix, because, yeah, they still have Matthew Stafford. He intends to play for a few more years. They may decide to bring in the next guy before the first guy kind of bails. So this is a spot here that we can start at least theorizing. If they take a quarterback, how would we react? And I think with Sean McVay, we'd have to act pretty favorably. A little bit of projecting here, some what if situations, but this is the type of things that we cover here on Blue Chips, the way team building can be used as an asset in fantasy in terms of the knowledge and the preparation that it takes to win in any competitive leagues. The 1-2-0, the 20th pick in the first round, the Steelers take Jackson Powers Johnson. I'm starting to think that they could go a receiver here. Just traded Deontay Johnson. Mike Tomlin has now been present at 3 stages of Ladd McConkey's evaluation process. He was down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. He was obviously at the Combine, and then he was at the UGA Pro Day. Now, shout out to Mr. Cody Carpentier, who has boots on the ground. He's going to these things and getting information that is some of the best in the biz. Head over to draftrankings.com to get that. But he pointed out that Mike Tomlin did not watch a single rep of Ladd McConkey while he was on the field. He was talking to Kirby Smart. So the speculation continues to grow about the Brock Bowers interest over in Pittsburgh. But in this mock, Bowers is off the board. Can't get him. They turn to the big dog in the middle. JPJ, probably the best interior lineman, certainly the best center in this class. And this is just another domino to fall in place that is telling me and should tell you as a dynasty manager, go acquire Najee Harris. Najee Harris is not washed up. Matter of fact, he's going to his 3rd year, his first 2 where he was a 1,000-yard rusher. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, despite having Jalen Warren, Matt Canada, all be obstacles for him. Injuries, he's been productive. And now with Arthur Smith, a conservative offense, look for him to potentially be a value in startups and someone that you can buy on the outside a slight discount, and someone that you would love to cash in some big points, some big ROI in terms of the season. And JPJ helps that case, just building that interior, keeping the quarterback upright, allowing for some power runs up the middle, something that Najee could be great at in 2024. The 121, or I should say the 21st pick in the first round, the 1.21. This is a fun one, folks. Strap in. Put that seatbelt on, because in this NFL Mock 3.0 that you can find at PlayerProfiler.com, I have the Kansas City Chiefs trading all the way up to the 21st pick to draft Zay, a.k.a. Xavier Worthy, the fastest man in NFL Combine history. While we were in Indy, you could see they posted a tweet from Pat Mahomes, the suggestive eyes emoji, just I don't know how you would kind of do that via video, via pose, but the suggestive eyes emoji, and then apparently he reached out personally. They have been lacking big playability. They've been lacking some oh shit type capabilities in their offense ever since Tyreek Hill left. You want to go, if you want to add some explosiveness to this offense, go get the guy who has speed similar to Tyreek Hill. Xavier Worthy is not as stocky as Tyreek, but is a guy that certainly can still put on some LBs as he develops as an NFL player. Was a massive producer at a young age at Texas, so he's not the same type of prospect as your John Rosses or your Darius Hayward-Bays. He has been the leading receiver for Texas over his first 3 years, over his 3-year college career. And we're talking about Adonai Mitchell being there, Jatavian Sanders being there. We're talking about great players, and he was the leading receiver all 3 years that he was there. And now you put him with Patrick Mahomes. Boy, I mean, this is talk about skyrocketing value. This is something that you need to put on your radar. And if you get an offer for maybe the 6th pick in 1 QB, or you get the 10th pick, someone throws you the 110 for something, you may have been nah, I'm not interested. You got to start thinking about the possibilities of these high-powered offenses getting a guy with 4-2-1 capabilities, with great stop and start abilities. So these 110s in Superflex, 106 in 1 QB now has to be monitored a little more slickly, carefully, interestedly. You got to be pumped for that a little bit more than we thought, because Xavier Worthy could be landing on the Chiefs, the Bills, the Texans. There's a real hotbed of wide receivers that we're going to start seeing here in this mock. the 122, or I gotta stop calling it the 122, the 1.22, the 22nd pick in the first round. Buffalo Bills trade up to get their receiver, Brian Thomas. So this is where I think we will see the competitive teams compete for wide receivers. Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Brian Thomas, all names to consider, all players that have immense abilities. Brian Thomas, he showed he's big, he showed he's fast, but he also showed he cannot run a whole lot of routes. He is not as diverse a route runner as your true to core alpha could be. So he needs to go to a situation where he can be the go up and get it, the red zone threat, the deep guy, because I think he had 17 touchdowns and maybe 10 of them last year were 20 or more yards. I think that was the statistic. So he's a big threat guy. But going to a team like the Bills is A1 chef kiss, A1 steak sauce landing spot. And again, Brian Thomas, if you don't like his prospect profile because you think there's too many red flags, I would not say ignore them by any means, but also start being okay with them, because the hotbed for landing spots when it comes to Brian Thomas consists of offenses that can support his skill set in a massive way. Bills would be great. Chiefs would be great. The Cowboys, the Texans, the Eagles, even these are situations where teams should have receivers on their radar, and how it kind of plays out will be how it plays out. But we want to start evaluating those guys a little bit more towards the better outcomes than negative outcomes due to potential landing spots. And I think that's something I definitely learned doing this mock 3.0. The 23rd pick, Houston Texans take Johnny Newton. Just great football pick. Really nothing that we could take away from fantasy. The Dallas Cowboys take Troy Fautanu. Wow, that sounded like that was terrible, but I think I nailed it the second day. Fautanu. Offensive lineman from Washington. Smith will be gone. Biadasz is gone. Biadasz. The center is gone. But they have the ability to bring in a pretty good lineman, which doesn't directly help us in fantasy, but certainly keeps us from a disaster for guys like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. We would love to see the Cowboys replenish that offensive line and keep that quarterback upright, because it's a very powerful offense, and they are able to do so here. And I think that most outcomes, whether it be Fautanu or someone else, I think there are a lot of players at the offensive line, on the offensive line positions, that could be available there for the Cowboys. So if they do go that route, that'll be something that we can breathe easy, that they're at least taking steps to keep that offensive line to be one of the better in the league, something that we've all grown accustomed when we're doing our evaluations for fantasy with the Dallas Cowboys. The 25th pick, the Packers take J.C. Latham, a good young team. They're in a position to get a good young player here at 25. They don't need a receiver. There's really no running back here that they would probably take, and I think they pretty much told us that by giving Josh Jacobs damn near $50 million. So they can just shore up the line, which again just is keeping these assets, the evolution of these offensive assets, in favor of fantasy. It can help with the development of Love, the receivers, even keep Josh Jacobs going. Like, we want to see the Packers keep making good team building decisions, because then when we evaluate the players on that team, we can do so with more certainty, because we're not going to have to worry about, but what if they can't keep the quarterback upright? What if I think that with this pick and with where they are in the draft, we're going to like it for the overall evaluation process of the Green Bay Packers. 26th pick, Tampa Bay Buccaneers get their edge rusher, Liatu Latu. The 27th pick in the first round, the Raiders trade back in the first round to get Michael Penix Jr. I do not believe that the Gardner Minshew signing takes them out of the QB market. I think that it keeps them very much in play, even at 13. So at 13, I had them taking Quinyon Mitchell, but we have to be keeping an eye on their potential moving up to get JJ McCarthy, because Aiden O'Connell's not the guy. Gardner Minshew is a great placeholder. He's a great guy, a great quarterback to bring in to either usher in a rookie or just keep the team afloat if their normal starter gets hurt, a la what he did in Indy. I think the exact same thing could be happening, where we were excited that he was the quarterback in Indy. Then they took Anthony Richardson 4, but then he ended up playing a lot of the year and he's pretty good. So I think that type of approach with how we evaluate him in Vegas, we should do pretty much the same from team to team for Minshew. But that doesn't take them out of the running for a quarterback. And getting a guy like Penix, Penix is a little bit tough to evaluate because he can certainly spin it. Right, he has a great arm. But how much do we have to factor in his receivers at Washington? Dunzy, Polk, McMillan. I mean, these are all going to go in the top 100 picks of the NFL draft. These are good players we want in fantasy. But going to the Raiders, he's going to have Jacoby Myers. He's going to have Devontae Adams, potentially some more young players that they can get in the draft, and Michael Mayer. So I do like the landing spot. If Penix gets round 1 draft capital, again, let's put it on our radar, you have to consider him at the end of the first round in Superflex rookies. If the big 4. The top, let's say the top 8 goes chalk, the ones I talked about earlier, and Worthy and Mitchell and Thomas go off the board. And now you're looking at Penix, the first running back, Franklin. Penix has to be in consideration here if he goes round 1. Same thing for Nix. I don't have Nix in the first round. You're going to have to go check out my NFL Mock 3.0 at PlayerProfiler.com to see where Nix lands and what round he goes, but he does not go in the first. But if a 5th quarterback sneaks into round 1 of the NFL draft, we have to consider that player at the end of our first round for our rookie drafts, no doubt about it. The Philadelphia Eagles at 28 take Kool-Aid McKinstry, just a really good player that they can add to their secondary. The Eagles are wheeling and dealing, throwing out some money to get better. Saquon Barkley, geez Louise, it's fun over there in Philly, and they could go offensive lineman here. It's not too early for Nick Frazier. Shout out Nick Frazier. For Zach Frazier, center from West Virginia, probably the second best center or interior lineman even in the class. So that could be a potential pick here at 28, but I don't expect it to be a fantasy relevant player here. So I think we can take the Eagles off our radar for first round fantasy players. The Detroit Lions take Braden Fiske, defensive lineman from Florida State. He proved at the combine that this kid is a freak athlete, and he is the exact type of player that Dan Campbell will love. So does it help us in fantasy? No, but football fans, we should love that. The 30th pick in this class is the last fantasy relevant one of my NFL Mock 3.0. Adonai Mitchell goes to the Baltimore Ravens. This is nice. Again, there are high-powered offenses in the wide receiver hotspot for the first round. My biggest fantasy takeaway from the NFL Mock 3.0 was we can't always game plan for good landing spots for players. I think we should start preparing our rookie evaluations with the idea that these guys are going to get really great landing spots because, like I said, the hotbed for round 1 wide receivers to be selected are, it's at the end of the first, which consists of course, the best offenses in the league. And even at the top, you have the Cardinals, the Bears, the Titans in this mock, all going receiver, all needing receiver. The Titans less so now because they made their signing. But the point is the top end guys are going to places where they can get 120, 130 target upside as a rookie. But these end of the round 1 guys are going to offenses that can cater to their specific skill sets. And Adonai Mitchell going to the Ravens is exactly that. You'd have Zay Flowers being able to rip it up and all, whether it be inside, outside. And Adonai Mitchell brings such a dynamacy. Is that a word? I'm going to use it. It's such a dynamacy to the outside. It's like injecting the youth of. It's like taking Odell Beckham, who worked in the system, but dialing his career clock back years. Adonai Mitchell ran a 4.34 at the combine. Showed he had blazing speed. Adequate enough route runner and a great catcher of the football. So going to the Ravens again just makes this first round just so high powered in rookie drafts. Again, I think there'll be spillover because if you go to the PlayerProfiler.com and see my NFL Mock 3.0, you will see more wide receiver landing spots and more running back landing spots. So I do think that if you can do anything from fantasy, if you want to help your fantasy process. If you want to get your dynasty gaming to the next level, use these mock drafts, not just mine, but Cody Carpentier's and others around the industry, to start game planning the narratives that you could see, so that when they do lock in at the end of April, you're already steps ahead of your competition. You already had this. If he goes here, then I'll evaluate here. You'll have these building blocks already in place. So that's kind of what I recommend by using these mocks. These last two picks, both offensive linemen, Amarius Mims to the San Francisco 49ers, and then the 32nd pick in the first round, the Miami Dolphins get their inside the interior lineman, Graham Barton from Duke. Again, great spots for us fantasy gamers, because we want these offenses to be good, to support points, right? We like points. Offensive lineman just kind of is building an offensive line can just elevate every aspect of this and give us as evaluators in fantasy and dynasty just a little bit better base to make our assumptions on. We're not worrying about the offensive line just crumbling and absolutely demolishing Sam Howell's value, things of that nature. So we want these good teams to make the right decisions, and here they'll have they'll have great landing spot or great positions to bring in players to help fortify offenses that we can continue to rely on in fantasy football. That's it. The mock 3.0 first round is done. We've gone through it. Thank you, Blue Chippers, for tuning in. And if you are interested in the second and third round of my NFL mock 3.0, head over to PlayerProfiler.com. You can get all that. Like I said, 3 rounds, 100 picks, over 15 trades. We're getting ready for our rookie drafts in a way that just others isn't. You can find me on X at Matty Kiwoom. The game plan, trade gods, blue chips, obviously, future cast, the hurdle, all live and popping over at the Player Profiler YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed there. Like this video, leave a comment, talk about, ask me questions about particular teams, fantasy, whatever you want. I'm here to help. I'm here to help your Dynasty gamers, your Devy gamers, all fantasy football team builders. Let's get together. Blue Chippers extraordinaire. I'm Matty Kiwoom. This is Blue Chips. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All-In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.